Welcome to Ramen Chokehold TV, and we've got a very, very special guest today. I am here with Ramen Chokehold's writer, Jeff Kunkle. G'day, Jeff. How you going, buddy?
Good, bro. How are you? Pretty cold.
Yeah, it's mighty cold over there. You were telling me it's something crazy like minus
It's
thousands of
minus,
degrees.
it's minus 20 right now, Celsius.
Minus 20 Celsius. Wow. And what's that in Fahrenheit?
It's like -3.
So
-2.
that's
Yeah.
crazy, especially today that you tell me that, because it's actually 42 degrees Celsius outside here on the Central Coast, mate. So two very different opposite sides of the world, but we come together today for a very special reason, mate. It's because we've been working very hard on this, and we're going to be doing our 2017 awards, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, super excited about it. A lot of great contenders. A lot of cool new awards that we're going to do. You're not going to see it anywhere else. Forget any of the sites that you're thinking of. We've got original awards. We got fresh content, and we're not just going to hammer the big UFC promotion. We're going to hit across the board. There's a lot of great MMA that happened this year. We're going to touch it all.
Hey, let's get straight into it. Why not? And we'll throw the first award out there. And the first award, mate, is the dethroning of the year. So basically, this was for the fighter that got rid of the champion that we didn't think could have happened. So who does that go to this year, mate?
This one's pretty easy, at least in my eyes. I know we had a conversation back and forth, but Rose Namajunas knocking out the champ first round. I don't see how you can go anywhere else. This is upset of the year. Congratulations, Rose.
Thug Rose!
I mean, what else can you say? Thug Rose! Thug Rose!
That's great, man. That was
call too. Call of the year.
It could have been call of the year. I mean, that reaction got a little bit of crap online, but I thought it was amazing, mate. So congratulations to Rose Namajunas. She is our dethroning of the year award this year. So congratulations, mate. We better keep rolling because we've got a few awards to give out, and our next one's for the hottest ticket of the year. So this is obviously the card of the year. Other people might call it, but this is really for the fans. We really want to be there. That's how we come up with this award, is because which card this year did we want to be at, and who wins it this year, mate?
UFC 217, Bisping St. Pierre, 3 title fights, upset of the year. TJ knocks out his former teammate. George St. Pierre comes back after a 4-year hiatus. Sleeps the champ. Come on.
I mean, it could. I mean, 218 could have got a run. 218 was a fairly handy card as well, but I think 217 has got to by a landslide, to be honest.
You know, UFC 218. Any other year, I think we're talking very differently about this award. Great card, and obviously, you got Francis Ngannou knockout. Gaethje Alvarez was a tremendous fight. Max Holloway doing his thing. It's a great card, but nothing. The 3 title fights are probably the best hour and a half of MMA I've seen, maybe ever. So,
especially back to back to back. I mean, that's crazy that you can line up that, and it actually comes off, because usually 3 title fights, at least 1 or 2 of them will end up a dud.
Yeah, it's tricky to do it. You get one that kind of lives up to the hype, and then you get one that kind of slows it down, or maybe they're a bit evenly matched, and sometimes that can come out in the wash as a boring fight. But all 3 of those fights lived up to it. All 3 got finishes, and I think honestly all 3 found the most shocking way to end the fight, and that's what made it so great. So
it was, mate. It was an amazing card, and congratulations to the UFC for putting on the best card of the year. But mate, we move on now, and this award we're actually calling the Dominic Cruz Award. So we're naming it after Dom, and the reason is because this is basically for the comeback of the year, because there's no greater comeback, or probably never going to be a greater comeback, than Dominic Cruz and what he did a few years ago. So mate, who wins 2017's Dominic Cruz Award?
It's George St. Pierre. 4 years off. We didn't even know if he would come back. He called it a hiatus, and he's not going to say the R word. but who knew if he would ever return, and when he did return, what would he look like? But he stepped in there with Michael Bisping, who was on a tear. Say what you want, but he knocked out Luke Rockhold, defended his belt, got this big fight, and George looked. I mean, he looked as good as he could have after 4 years, and I mean, rear naked choke in the fourth round. It was an amazing comeback for him, and he clearly deserved the award.
Anyone that's off for 4 years in a sport like this, I mean, there's going to be some form of rust there, and there was. But the champion that he is, he just comes through, and he proved he's truly one of the greatest ever.
Yeah, honorable mention. I want to bring this up because beginning of the year, what was it, February? The Korean Zombie came back after 3 years on a military service. Knocked out Dennis Bermudez in the first round. It was a tremendous performance. Once again, this is another one of these things where any other year, he's got it. But you can't beat George St. Pierre coming back and winning his second title. 2 different weight classes, comes back at 185, takes the belt.
And I'm pretty sure that this award is going to be one of the highlights of his career. So congratulations, GSP, mate. Mate, moving on. This is possibly my favorite award of the whole show. It's definitely my favorite named award of the whole show. And this award is the Stephen Bradbury Award, but we're just going to shorten it to the Bradbury Award. So basically what that is for the greatest comeback ever. And there is no greater comeback in any sport. I don't care what sport you watch. Go online now, type in Stephen Bradbury Winter Olympics 2002, Lillehammer, the very first gold medal for Australia in the Winter Olympics. I'm not going to tell you what happens. I want you to go and watch it. Maybe I'll put the link down in the description. But mate, you tell me who wins the Bradbury Award this year.
Well, this is Darren Elkins. It wasn't quite as impressive as what Stephen Bradbury pulled off, but it was pretty close. And, dominated for the first 2 rounds against I don't know if you call him a prospect, a contender, what. Mirsad Bektik is a serious fighter. And, he was ragdolling him the first 2 rounds, and then the right high kick dropped him straight on his face. It was one of the greatest comebacks in MMA history, in my opinion.
And I mean, it was very, very close to win another couple of awards tonight because I remember watching that and just be going, oh, holy what I mean? Like, it was just amazing. And it'll be very, very hard for any sort of MMA fight for a comeback like that because he took some punishment, man. Yeah,
and Darren Elkins is a super tough guy. Anybody else would have been stopped. And even Darren, I thought there were some times in that fight where it could have been stopped a little earlier, but he's not going to give up. And we obviously saw that he's one of the toughest guys in the UFC. So well deserved.
Mate, and one of my favorite fights of the year is Darren Elkins. You are an absolute warrior, mate. You going forward, there's not a chance in hell anyone misses a Darren Elkins fight. Not after that.
No.
All right, so moving on, here we go. We've got the New Kid on the Block Award. So this is a throwback for all you 90s fans of New Kids on the Block, but this award's obviously for the greatest prospect that we've seen come through in the last year. And who's that, Jeff?
Yeah, it's Rookie of the Year. Volkan Ozdemir took it. 3-0 in the UFC, starting in 2017 with that upset with Ovince St. Pierre. Knocked out Misha Serkinov, knocked out Jimmy Manawa, who was probably the #1 contender headed into that fight, especially if he wins it. Tremendous 2017 for Volkan, and he took it, man.
And we're only, a week and a half away from his title shot. So we know that man's got no time. I got a sneaky suspicion he might even put Cormier away. I mean, Cormier's a champion, that's for sure. But he's got some fury in those fists, mate. So he's really well deserving of this award. And maybe next year he might be picking up, a couple of other awards.
Exactly. And it's certainly possible. I mean, we're not going to dive into it right now, but there's obviously a ton of different ways that fight could go. Volkan, we've seen him against the cage. Him against Cormier is going to be crazy, but that's the thing. Cormier is going to try and take him down, presumably. Can Volkan use his power in those short ranges the way he has early on in his career, take the title? And that would be that's a 12-month span to write about.
And another one of my favorite, well, it's the "Oh, that's the guy" award. Oh, that's the guy. And obviously, this is the opposite of Conor McGregor's famous line, mate. So why don't you tell the people what "Oh, that's the guy" award is and who wins it?
Francis Ngannou. There's no other answer here. Francis Ngannou has turned himself into kind of a questionable character. He was obviously physically gifted and the power was there, but we didn't know exactly where he could take it to. But obviously, UFC 218, one of the craziest, most vicious knockouts I've ever seen, and he did it against one of the most decorated strikers in UFC history.
And that was off a fairly decent layoff too, wasn't it, mate?
Oh, well, he fought what? Andre in April, March, the first quarter of the year. He was looking for that Cain Velasquez fight, never surfaced. I believe he was scheduled against Junior Dos Santos at some point, or at the very least linked. Didn't work out. Gets Alistair at the end of the year, and he cements his place at the top. He gets a title shot at the beginning of the year, just like Volkan. So
congratulations to Francis, mate. Well done. And we move on now. We have the John Jones Award. Now, this John Jones Award's not for probably what you're thinking it is. Jeff, why don't you tell everyone at home what the John Jones Award is?
Basically, it is who did something that was questionable in nature. I'm gonna be nice here because it started out in kind of a dark place, but we're gonna turn it on its head and we're gonna make it at least somewhat of a positive spin. It's somebody who screwed up. It's somebody who probably shouldn't have done something. They did it. It turned into a whole thing. Obviously, we had to name it after John Jones because, I mean, that's his entire.
Well, he's the man. John Jones is the man when it comes to that.
He's the guy. So, rightfully so, he gets an award. He should be proud. It is Ramen Chokehold Awards, and John Jones, I don't think he's ever won an award or had an award named after him. So, obviously, this is a huge honor, and I really wanted to give it to him. But there was one highlight this year that had to take it over him.
And I was very close to that highlight, mate. So why don't you tell everyone at home who wins the John Jones Award 2017?
Well, of course, it's the story of the year. Forget about McGregor Mayweather. Fabricio Verdum assaulting Colby Covington with a boomerang, of course, hours before he gets it from an adoring fan in Australia. He uses it to, as Colby says, hunt a welterweight on the roster, which is an interesting move. But after Colby called all the Brazilians filthy animals, it's kind of hard to argue with what Verdum did. And honestly, you could have given it to Colby because pressing charges is a bizarre move from what he's doing. He's a fighter, but at the same time, Fabricio wins it. You're a heavyweight. You're picking on Tony Ferguson. You're picking on Edmund Tarverdyan, Conor McGregor, Colby Covington. He's picking on every single person that's not in the heavyweight division. And he decided to use a prop this time. So congrats to Fabricio Verdum, John Jones Award. What can I say, man?
Well, I can tell you what I can say. It was an amazing performance to pick up the 2000 and John Jones Award. So congratulations, Fabricio Verdum. We move on now and we go to the one more round. Give us one more round award. And obviously, we know what that's going to be for. That's going to be for the fight of the year, basically. So, Who won that?
Yancy Medeiros and Alex Oliveira, UFC 218. Another great fight on that card. Came down to the wire. It's another one of those fights that happened not only at the end of the year, but there were a lot of great contestants, even ones that I had overlooked until the past week. Tim Elliott versus Louis Smolka was a great one. Obviously Gaethje Alvarez, Gaethje Johnson, but in terms of swings of momentum, knockdowns, violence, brawls, it had it all. Medeiros Oliveira took it. It was a tremendous fight. I don't care how many times you guys have watched it. Go back, rewatch it, then go back and rewatch it again because it's the greatest fight of this year, and it deserves to be recognized.
And let's give a special mention to Justin Gaethje. I mean, he could have easily taken the award with 2 of his fights this year. He's only fought twice in the UFC. And for him to have 2 of the greatest fights all year, we've just got to give you props, mate. You are definitely one of the fighters to watch moving forward, and I just can't wait till he fights again.
Yeah, I really wanted to give it to him. It came down to the wire with this one. I could watch Gaethje Alvarez fight all day long. It was beautiful in terms of technique. Obviously, the violence involved. I mean, we hate to use that word just in the sense of it goes beyond just straight, throwing down, bloody knuckles, stuff like that. But just all around a great fight. Wanted to give it to him. Ultimately, couldn't. Medeiros Oliveira took it. It is what it is.
Well, congratulations to them. So moving forward now, we have the Pretzel of the Year, which in my mind was the easiest award out of all of these to give out. And it's obviously for the Sub of the Year. So who won that, mate?
The Mighty Goat, Demetrius Johnson. That what is it? Chin drop, caught him in midair, took the arm, put the wrist in position. It was a little bit of a struggle, but it was as clean as you could possibly imagine a technique. He pulled it off in a title fight, which, bumps it up a lot more, because if you just see that first fight of the night, it's potentially submission of the night. He did it against the number 1 contender in the flyweight division in a title fight. Demetrius Johnson's the GOAT, and this is why. He does these crazy things in the biggest moments that make us just drop our jaws. There's nothing I could say about it. I was murmuring to myself about 3 minutes afterwards, 4 hours afterwards. I couldn't believe what I just saw. So obviously, submission of the year had to go to Demetrius Johnson.
And I seen a photo for the first time, actually, might have been yesterday or the day before, and it's of a different angle that I'd never seen before. And you actually see both his legs in place and the wrist in place. And Ray Borg, he's not even on the mat. Yeah. Like, he's still suspended somewhat in midair. It's craziness. It was... I don't even know if we're going to see anything like that again. Like, to even think about trying something like that, let alone title fight, all that in an amateur fight. It's insane. It was amazing, and congratulations to DJ. So moving on, we now have the toe curler of the year, which is obviously for the KO of the year. So another easy one, mate. Who won this one?
With this one was a little interesting. Obviously, there are a lot of great contenders. We talked about Francis Ngannou beforehand. It was a tremendous knockout. But Taiwan Claxton, if you don't know him, look him up. He's a prospect in Bellator. Great wrestler. But in this one, it was a flying knee at range, which we never see in MMA. Usually it's off of a takedown, quick reaction like you saw from Moraes and Sterling, Barboza, Dariush. Great knockouts. Claxton was standing at range, used his left hand to position his opponent. He was standing right in front of him and basically verticaled his way into a flying knee. I can't imagine having the athleticism to do that. He's obviously got it. He pulled it off. It was one of the cleanest KOs I've ever seen. It was one of the most impressive KOs I've ever seen. And the way the dude went down was just, it was vicious. He hit the mat, and I was nervous for him for a second because it landed so flush. It just seemed like everything was there for this knockout. And so I had to give it knockout of the year.
And when we spoke about who should win knockout of the year, obviously Francis' knockout and all that sort of thing. But for me, the main thing that set this one apart was that all of the other knockouts that were in contention for the award, basically no one saw the shot coming. And usually that's when knockouts occur. But with this one, like you said, he was, a good 10 yards away even before he started his attack. And the guy could see it coming and yet could do nothing about it. Got hit with the knee and then got shoved back. And like you said, when he hit the mat, his head bounced off the canvas, and it was an amazing knockout. So if you haven't, tell us the name again, Jeff.
It's Taiwan Claxton. If you don't know him, I'm super ashamed of you, but I'll give it to you anyways. It's Tywin Claxton. Put Put it in YouTube. I don't care if you got to watch it at the very least.
So there you go. Congratulations. So next, moving on.
Hold on. I want to note, because this is the kind of stuff we're going to start seeing in MMA. We always talked about what would happen if an elite athlete decided, instead of going to basketball, instead of doing football, soccer, whatever you want to say, what if he took up fighting? We're starting to see it with guys like Francis Ngannou. And now we're seeing it in Bellator with these wrestling guys, come out of the amateur wrestling scene. They're athletic enough to play any sport, but they love martial arts. Taiwan Claxton's one of those guys, and he's now in MMA. So keep your eye out for a lot of these prospects, because we're going to start seeing some really crazy feats of athleticism.
Yeah, and that's so true, mate. So good shout. Mate, Holy Shit Award. And there was a few contenders for this one, but and let's talk about a few of them. But why don't you tell us who won the award first?
Well, who won the award was Francis Ngannou, knocking out Overeem. I think it embodies this award the most. I mean, I literally yelled "holy shit" like 1,000 times after it happened. I murmured it a couple times myself. I couldn't believe what had happened, and really the only thing that I was left with was just holy shit.
And I think you could probably say that for just about anyone watching that. I'm pretty sure that I said holy shit. It was holy shit. It really was.
Yeah. There's no other way to describe it. I try and use my words sometimes to explain how great that knockout was, but there's really no other better way to describe it than holy shit.
Now let's talk about who he was up against. And for my mind, it was Martin Nguyen, and it was Martin Nguyen's knockout over Edouard Followyoung. And for a few reasons, it's actually my holy shit moment of the year. And that's because I was 4 foot away from it, cage side. So I let you give it to Francis in the end, but very special mention to Martin Nguyen. He obviously went up in weights. He was fighting for the 77 kilo title. And he actually woke up that morning at 71.3 kilos. So he probably was giving up the best part of 10 kilos in that match, or 20 pounds. And and the spin and the knockout, if you haven't checked it out, it's on our homepage of ramenchokehold.com. I've still got it up there. In fact, if I check now, it'd be very, very close to getting 100,000 views. I think I was at 98,000 yesterday. So if you haven't seen that knockout, check that one out. But what do you think about the Martin Eddie knockout, mate?
It was unbelievable, and it was really difficult to give the award to anyone else other than him. I think the spin added a lot to it, because it's kind of one of those things where it was perfect timing, perfect execution. And when Edward came around the corner with that spinning back kick, all of a sudden he was flat on his face. He was out, and Martin was a double, weight champ. So really just a difficult award. I mean, there were a couple other ones like Darren Elkins we had just mentioned, down 2 rounds, and all of a sudden he pulls a right high kick out of his ass and knocks out one of the top prospects in the UFC. So there were a lot of great contenders for this award. Martin was obviously definitely up there, and huge ups to him.
Yeah, so fantastic, mate. And so moving on now to our next sort of, we've only got 5 or 6 awards left, but these are really the ones that that we're proud of the most. We've put a lot of thought into these ones. Obviously, we're going to finish off with the male and female fighter of the year, but moving on from now, this award we've actually named after the person who's won it, which is obviously very, very rare, and we decided that we really want this award, especially moving forward. So, Jeff, I'm going to let you introduce the award. I'm going to let you tell the people who it is who won it, why they won it, and it's unbelievable. Like this award is nearly my favorite.
Yeah, I love it too. It's not all about what happens inside the cage. Originally, this was named the Martial Artist of the Year. We wanted to have an award that encapsulated somebody who contributed outside of the cage too, because ultimately that's what martial arts is about. It's a way of life. There's a lot of values that go, integrity, honor, respect, all that good stuff. But ultimately it's about how you treat other people inside and outside of the cage, your training partners, and just people in everyday life. So it was originally the Martial Artist of the Year award, but after talking about it, we had to rename it the Justin Wren Award, for excellence outside the cage.
And moving forward, it will continue to be the Justin Wren Award forever.
That's it. That's the award, because that's the gold standard. What he's done in Congo, if you guys don't know the story, just look it up. Just type in Justin Wren. It's probably the first thing that's going to come up, because as good as he is inside the cage, he's really doing something special. It's Fight for the Forgotten, if you haven't heard. What he's doing is he's building water wells in Congo. They've got a lot of problems with health, and water disease is one of the foremost killers in that part of the world. And Justin Wren's combating it by, I think he's put up like 42, 43 different water wells in Congo at this very moment.
Oh no, we're talking hundreds now, mate.
There you go. I mean, the guy embodies everything you could possibly want in a martial artist. He puts others before himself. I'm really happy that we can create this award, because nobody deserves it more than him. It's the least we could do, because obviously what he's doing is a lot greater, but any second that we can get it out there about what he's doing, we should have a link. You know what? We're going to put the link in the bottom, Fight for the Forgotten. You guys, I'm going to donate.
Ramen Chokehold is donating on behalf of this award. And in fact, what we'll be doing for this award every year is, if it's a charity or something like that, whoever wins the award, we will be donating towards that. Yeah,
I'm really excited about this award. Really excited that we can give it to Justin. Really excited that we can name it after him. And yeah, I mean, I also want to highlight other guys who are contributing. Obviously, Diego Sanchez, you guys saw what he did with the Shermanator. That's one of the feel-good stories of the year. John Dodson's also getting involved. There's another fight scheduled soon. That's really great. Dustin Poirier auctioning off his fight gear to fallen police officers and firefighters' families. So we got a lot of guys out there doing some really positive stuff in the community, and just want to give recognition to them.
Yeah, so much. And that's what we're really looking forward to covering as well. We want to do some stories about what these martial artists are actually outside the cage like, you know. So congratulations, Justin. Hopefully we get to talk to you soon, mate. So keep up the great work, and we'll be watching, that's for damn sure. So moving on now, we have another great award that I'm so looking forward to give out, and it's our Bushido in Battle Award. So basically that's for the martial artist who shows the greatest Bushido sort of warrior code spirit whilst still in battle, or once the battle is finished. So who wins it this year, mate?
Yeah, it's basically respect inside the cage, and we saw it on display for Martin Nguyen, who is the winner of this award. When he knocked out Edward Foleyang and even Marat Gafarov, he showed how much respect he has for his fellow martial artists. It's not about the trash talking. It's not about, promoting yourself in sort of a negative light. He embodies what a martial artist is inside the cage. And that's why we had to give this award to him. Nobody deserved it more. Obviously winning 2 belts this year was a huge accomplishment for him, but you always have to keep this kind of stuff in perspective. And I think Martin did a tremendous job of that. So it's only natural that we give him this.
And I mean, when you think about it, that he just won his second world title. He's now a dual world champion. And instead of carrying on and getting up on top of the cage and whatnot, because it was such a bad knockout, and that was his friend lying on the ground, you know, just to hold he went to lift his head up, and they told him to get away, and he didn't. He held his hand, and he was actually visibly upset inside of the cage the split second after he realized that he'd knocked him out. And I think that's more what we're getting at with this award is to show the respect to your competitor you know, especially when we're talking about at the highest level. And we can talk about another dual weight world champion when he won the belt and how he carried on and what he said after the fight. And it's nothing like what happened inside that cage that night in Manila. So congratulations, Marty. Bushido in Battle Award. I can't wait to see what you got coming up this year for us. That's for damn sure. So moving on now, we have our martial arts moment of the year. So that's basically for that, you know, that sort of 30 seconds to a minute of where we've seen the greatest martial arts spirit come through. And who won that this year, mate?
Well, that's going to go to Adrian Pang, coach of one Isaac Hardman. Isaac got a tremendous knockout over Rob Hill to, I believe it was what? Kunlun, AFC?
Yeah, AFC Kunlun, yeah.
AFC cross promotion. But after the knockout, Adrian, instead of going to celebrate with his, student, he goes over and tends to Rob to make sure he's okay, had his head up, giving him water, rubbing his chest. It was an incredibly inspiring moment. And I just think kind of what we've been talking about these past couple of awards is what we're getting at is, you know, this isn't just about knocking people out and cashing checks. It's, you know, it's about what goes into a martial artist lifestyle. And Adrian Pang embodies that 100% to the moon. And we wanted to recognize him with this award because you especially, and then when I saw it secondhand, were super impressed with how he handled the moment and how he put others' needs in front of his own emotional reaction to his friend and teammate, student, getting a great knockout.
Well, I had a real insight into that week. I was actually down there filming Isaac the whole week. And it turned out that just with transportation and that they ended up in my car for the whole week and I was driving around. So I got to know them quite well. And when I was there that night and when that knockout happened, I actually don't really like filming people when they're knocked out. I know that I filmed Marty's knockout, but I was really filming Marty after the knockout, not Edward on the ground. So I didn't even film Rob after he got knocked out because it was quite a vicious knockout. But when I was there live, Rob was probably on the ground for a good 2 or 3 minutes. And Adrian was there every single second of that. As soon as Adrian was allowed inside of the cage, I mean, Isaac's like this guy's son. I've seen the way that they treat each other. You know, there's so much respect there, but yet totally ignored that fact, let Isaac go and carried on and celebrate over there by himself. And he went straight over to Rob. And it wasn't until actually the promoter come over and asked Adrian to move away that he moved away and went and celebrated with him. So congratulations, Adrian. It taught me so much about martial arts that night. It had nothing to do with a combination or a submission technique. And it was very, very inspiring. Let's just put it that way. So do you have any final words for Adrian and winning that award, Jeff?
I just have so much respect for Adrian and how he handled that moment. So, yeah, I mean, I'm blown away by how he handled that. And I'm just really happy that we can recognize him.
This is one of our greatest names that we've come up with for an award. And this is the Dana White Award. And Jeff, why don't you let everyone know what the Dana White Award is?
Well, basically the Dana White Award is an honor of the boss of the UFC, saying that women not only should not fight in the UFC, but will not fight in the UFC because they're not good enough. There's not enough of them. Nobody wants to see them fight. I'm blown away by the stupidity of that statement. Obviously, it's a different time. He's obviously come around. We've got females headlining the, anniversary of the UFC 200. So he's come around, but we just want to keep poking him a little bit. Just keep prodding him. Just keep letting him remember the time that he said women will never fight in the UFC. And the winner for 2017 is, of course, Rose Namajunas. Submitted Michelle Watterson in the beginning of the year. And then, of course, had the upset of the year when she knocked out Joanna Jędrzejczyk. who was on her way to becoming one of the most dominant champions, male or female, in the UFC. And to me, the most surprising part was she kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, obviously, Rose was considered going into tough the next Ronda Rousey, and that's all good and fine, but we didn't really see it from her. Obviously, she made it to the final. She had a nice little effort. She did some good things, but over the past couple of years, she's really transformed herself. And going into this year, I'm not sure many people thought she was that close to a title shot, winning the belt, anything like that. And of course, she finishes off the year with the upset of the year, taking the belt. I mean, it's pretty easy to me. She's the female fighter of the year.
So congratulations, Thug Rose. You've won the very inaugural Dana White Award for Female Fighter of the Year. So moving on, we've obviously got 2 awards left, and this is going to be our Hoist Gracie Award. And moving forward, that's exactly what will be named. And obviously, this is for our Male Fighter of the Year. We couldn't name it after anyone else, obviously. And why don't you let everyone know who's won the Male Fighter of the Year, Jeff?
So there were a couple different contenders, but at the end of the day, when you win 2 belts at 2 different weight classes in a major promotion in MMA, what are we talking about here? You win the award. Martin Ewan, dual weight world champion. At the beginning of the year, he's going to be fighting Bibiano, right? So he's got a chance for 3 belts. He's obviously the fighter of the year. Knocked out Murat Gafarov, gets that one back after he was submitted. Kind of a weird fight the first time around. We forget about that. He knocked him out, goes up. Like you said, you noted the weight difference. I mean, crazy. He shouldn't really have been fighting Edward in the sense that weight was such a difference in modern MMA. It's like, how are you going to give up that kind of size? But it didn't matter because he flatlines people, and he flatlined Edward Folliang, a guy who I'm not even sure they necessarily thought they could do it. But Martin, it's not about power. It's not about, overwhelming your opponent. Martin's timing, his precision, and the accuracy on the right hand. Like we said, we already talked about it. It was one of the greatest moments of this year. And of course, I think it sealed that fighter of the year for him.
And for me, I've been looking around at lots of other awards and who people are giving out. He's not even getting a mention. And for me, he's leaps and bounds the 2017 Male Fighter of the Year. I mean, we obviously do some work with him and we film him and all that sort of thing, but very objectively, there is no male fighter this year that even comes close to doing what he done.
Listen, you guys know at this point that I'm not going to bullshit you guys. What I think is what is going to be said or written. Martin Ewan, there's no bias here. Martin Ewan won 2 world titles in the same year, back-to-back, knocked off Murat, which he was an underdog in the fight, knocked off Edward, underdog in the fight. Why is this guy still an underdog? It doesn't make any sense. Now, obviously, there are some great contenders, and we want to give, recognition to them too. But it's crazy to me that the guy hasn't even been talked about in the biggest award shows out there, and even down to the smallest that I've seen. Nobody's talking about this guy, and it's absurd to me.
And we're going to change that, mate. We're really pushing one championship this year, and we'll be following Martin closely. We'll be there in Thailand when he takes on Bibiano for his 3rd weight world title. If he wins that's insane. He's going to be a megastar in the MMA world, and hopefully then he might start getting some recognition from the smaller and larger outlets out there. But, mate, moving on, we've got 1 award to give left, and I've kept this for last because we've actually named it the Ramen Chokehold Award of 2017. And the reason why we've kept this last and the reason why we've named it the Ramen Chokehold Award is because essentially this is for the person who's contributed to MMA the most for the year. And the reason why we've named it that is because essentially that's what we are. We don't fight. We're not fighters. We're not coaches. We're outside of the realm of that. So we really wanted to recognize the person who we think gave the greatest contribution to MMA in 2017. And Jeff, why don't you let everyone know who the last award of 2017 is?
So the winner of the Ramen Chokehold Award, which is the most important award out there, is Chatri Sityodon, the president, chairman, CEO, all that good stuff of ONE FC. What they're doing, ONE Championship. What they're doing out there is unbelievable, and they're not getting enough recognition. They're huge in Asia. They're expanding. They're coming to Australia. They're even moving down to New Zealand. They're talking about it. They're hitting all the biggest places in martial arts that the UFC isn't hitting. And, here in a couple of years, people who want to see true martial arts are going to go to ONE Championship. None of this, self-promotion, big blustered, cocky, crazy fighters. Just good, clean martial arts, best fights, best production. And he's behind all of that. He's the guy who makes ONE Championship run. And only naturally, he's the guy who has contributed the most to martial arts this year. And just super happy that we can give it to him. And
for me, when you talk about, promotions and all that sort of thing, I really love the sport. I don't mind some of the banter that goes on between fighters and some of the self-promotion, but it's just gone way out of hand. And I think the UFC's lost their way with that. And they're losing people like me because I don't give a crap about it. What I give a crap about is what happens inside of the cage and outside of the cage. You can't carry on like that all the time. You might get your North American viewers and you might get your youngsters watching you and following you on Twitter. But for the real fans of the sport, I believe moving forward, ONE Championship is going to be the leader. And they're very, very close to becoming that already.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's, we don't want to bash anybody too hard, so we're not going to do it. But it's starting to get to the point where it's more theatrical than we're talking about fights. And ONE Championship gets rid of all of that. You're not having these huge press conferences where our main objective is to try to rile each other up and maybe get some monster energy cans thrown at each other. This is good, clean martial arts, good technique. Guys that maybe you've never heard of, but the only reason you've never heard of them is because you're so fixated on what Conor McGregor's wearing today, or Paige Van Zandt Dancing with the Stars. Wonder how she's doing. None of that matters, and all of that is stripped away, and we just get a great promotion to put together great fights. And I 100% agree.
So congratulations, Chatri, and that's really our 2017 awards. So Jeff, I'm going to hand the floor over to you. Before I do that, though, publicly, I really want to thank you for all the work that you've put in, mate, for Ramen Chokehold. Basically, we've come a long way in the few months that we've been doing, and we're really kicking goals now. And if anyone hasn't read Jeff's stuff, I implore you, it's some of the best stuff that you'll read in MMA. It's very truthful. It comes from his heart. He does a lot of study. When he writes on someone, he'll go back and he'll watch every single fight, read every single interview. So make sure you check out Jeff's stuff. So, mate, I'm going to give you the floor. Tell me about what, just your 2017 in MMA and what you're really looking forward to this year.
It's been crazy. There's no words really to describe how awesome these past few months have been. Being able to write on this kind of platform and really being given the freedom to say and write about really whatever I want. Man, like, you're thanking me. Like, I don't want to turn this into like a shit.
Oh, there we go. That's all right. Keep going.
Yeah. All right. No, I don't want to turn it into like some kind of like you thank me, I thank you kind of thing. But ultimately, like, I wouldn't have this platform without you. So I just want to thank you. 2017 has been great. And it's really been highlighted by the fact that I've been able to do what I love, focus on what I love. And that's really what this website's about. It's not, we're not doing this to try and get huge publicity or make ourselves a part of the story. We're trying to cover MMA the best possible way we can from the perspective of a fan. We're not journalists. We're just fans who love talking about the sport, who love writing about the sport. And you're not going to get what we do anywhere else. I can assure you that. So in 2018, it's going to be more of the same. We're going to kill it. We got some huge stuff coming, so keep your eyes posted for that. And man, just keep following us. It's about to get crazy, and we're taking over.
We are. We're going, and I'll tell you why we're going to take over is because we're cutting the bullshit. That's exactly what we're doing. We're not worried about writing articles about someone's tweet. I mean, that's what's happening in the MMA scene these days, and we're not having any of it. We're going to go out there. We're getting all original content. We're going to be filming videos. We're going to be filming breakdowns. We'll be filming lots. In fact, in around about half an hour's time, I'm headed from the Central Coast in New South Wales all the way up to Brisbane because we'll be filming with Reese McLaren and Damian Brown and Elliot Compton and all the guys up in Queensland with Matt from XFC. And we're really just beginning. So thank you so much to all of the original followers, all you new guys. Thanks for coming on board. Share our stuff if you like it, but only share it if you like it because we don't want to give away false pretenses that we're doing the best stuff unless you guys tell us we are. So you let us know also what we can do. What do you want to see as fans? Because like Jeff said, we're not journalists. We don't want to be journalists. We don't want to do any of that shit. We're fans, and we're going to bring it to you guys as fans the best way that we would like to see it ourselves. So if you've got any ideas, you let us know. So, Jeff, thanks, mate. Awesome awards. And we've got some big things coming up. So we'll be talking to you very soon.
All right. Thanks, Wombat.
No worries, my man. Take it easy.